How's the team today? Any injury concerns ahead of Bournemouth?
Yeah, team's looking very good. Yeah, obviously delighted with Monday night. So now on to our next game. In terms of the squad, we've got Wilfred Ndidi, who'll probably be out for a little bit. He obviously came back from international duty with a minor hamstring strain. Had recovered well here, but it's just felt that at half time in the game it was a little sore again, so he's probably going to miss a few weeks. Papi Mendy, an issue with his knee, so may struggle for the weekend, but everyone else should be fine.
And you mentioned there Monday's win. Have you seen an extra bounce in training this week? Extra smiles?
Yeah, well, I said before the game, I think it was a season-changing game that could change the mood really for the team and the supporters, and I've definitely sensed that there's no doubt. It was not just the manner and the result, but of course the performance level, and I think what we've seen more is that connection between the players and the supporters back again, because it's such a big game in the region, and the supporters certainly would have felt vibrant after the game and seeing the energy in the team and how they played. So when you perform to that level, and like I said, it was the scoreline away at Tottenham, I didn't think was reflective of the performance. You know, when I look at all the physical data in the game, those two games were very, very similar and very, very close, but we just get punished a little bit by being a little bit too open in the latter stages of that game. So but no, we took that positivity into the game the other night, and it was a very good performance.
And James Maddison said after the match that beforehand you showed the team clips of last year's defeat to Forest and a few comments about what pundits said. What prompted that?
Well, you're always looking to find ways to stimulate the players, and these guys are competitive players, and I think everyone was hurt after that previous game. So it's never about revenge, but you know, in football you always get another opportunity, and we felt that this was a game, and in particular in the circumstances that we're in, was going to be a great opportunity for us. So we just reminded the players of that feeling back then, and also the desire that's needed to win a football. We've got some fantastically gifted football players, but you can't win games of football without having a desire and a mentality and a collectivity to work hard and defend well. So it was just, there was questions being raised on us back then, and it was a great opportunity to respond.
And I know you've spoken a lot about James Maddison recently, but I just wanted to ask off the pitch, have you seen him become a leader within this team? Obviously the likes of Kasper Schmeichel, Wes Morgan have departed in recent seasons. Has he really developed into a leader in the squad?
There's absolutely no doubt his maturity on and off the pitch is developed, but that's what happens with growth. And you know, if you're 10 years of age, you're totally different at 15, 16, and it's no different. You know, coming in here, James in his early 20s, he's now mid-20s, and he's developing and improving on the pitch and outside in his life. So for me, he's always been that. He talks the game so well because he has a passion for it and a love for it. But he's definitely a very, very respected voice within the squad. One for our younger players. You know, they've seen him come through. He's a boy from the Midlands. They've seen his career develop, and they see what a top player he is. So they have a huge respect for him. And because of James's personality, I can imagine when he was 16, 17, he would have no fear going in amongst senior professionals and being a voice then. So he's exactly the same now. He sees the game really, really well. He calls the game really well. And like I said, that he's a very, very important player for us on and off the pitch.
And Jamie Vardy had a few chances against Forest. How do you assess his season so far?
Jamie's been working very, very hard for the team, and okay, the goals maybe have not come for him yet, but again, you know, Jamie's role for us is, like I said, it's still very, very important, whether he's on the pitch or whether he's off the pitch. You know, he's he's a player I just felt that needed to start the game on Monday night, you know, and just his authority there, especially at home where he's got a great connection with the crowd, was very important for us. But whether Jamie plays or not, whether he scores or not, in the remainder of his time here at the club, he's going to be so important for me and for the rest of the players because of his experience, because of what he brings, and because of his mindset.
And just finally from you, Brendan, ahead of Bournemouth, the away form hasn't been the best. I think it's 2 wins out of 18. How do you go about improving the away form?
Well, we're hoping that the performance on Monday night will help galvanise that. There's no doubt our form in general hasn't been good enough this season, but we feel the change in mood now, so we go there with a real determination. We know it'll be a hard game against Bournemouth. Obviously, Gary's come in there in a short period of time. They've really sort of closed the pitch up, not having the ball so much, but looking to contain but I still know they have quality. So for us, we need to go there now and play our game. I think that's important for us to play the football that we know that will get us results, home and away, and we look to see if we can, win after winning, which I've always said is important. Thank you.
Brendan, hi. So building on that theme of stats, data, building on the performance, the result that you've just had, you're very aware, I'm sure, that you concede too many goals away from home. Have you had one clean sheet in around 30 Premier League games? Is that something you're focusing on at the moment? An area to improve, obviously?
Always. I think that, listen, if you can keep a clean sheet, then great. That's always the mantra going into any game and any team. You want to fundamentally be strong defensively. But it's always both sides of the game in order to win. Our objective is to win the game. And you can win a game and maybe not have a clean sheet, but if you can win the game, then that's what you want to do. So if a clean sheet comes with that, then it's important. But I think we've seen the other night how connected the team were, both with and without the ball, and that's a standard that we need to maintain.
And I guess nobody needs to tell you that result the other night will mean so much more if you can then back it up in the succeeding games, starting with this one. Yeah,
I said before Monday night's game that we had a real challenging fixture list at a difficult time, but this run of games now between now and the break before the World Cup gives us a chance to accumulate points, and it's an opportunity where very quickly you can find yourself in the middle of the table. So, but it's just each game. We put a big focus into Monday's game. It's the same now. We prepare, put our plan together. Players have got a real bounce now, and the fluency and everything looks, really, really good. So we need to now take that energy, that mentality into our next game, and that's the focus.
You mentioned getting, into the from the foothills into the middle of the table. That's where Bournemouth are, and they're actually not that far ahead of you. So, again, not a must-win by any means, but a very big one for you to close that gap.
Yeah, I just think it's game on game. The race will be decided at the end of the season where everyone's at. So that's a long, long way off. But we just know that if we can perform to the level that we did the other night and keep that intensity, then we're going to win a lot more football matches. And so that's the plan.
They have a caretaker manager at the moment. That's not an easy role to fulfil. What have you made of them in the last few games? I mean, I think they're unbeaten in 4 now.
Yeah, I was obviously disappointed for Scott when he left because he'd done a great job getting them up. And clearly something wasn't quite right where he's then left. Gary obviously coming in, and I think he's done really, really well. I'm delighted to see because he was a really good player. Gary, I remember watching him in his career, and excellent players come into coaching, worked at Liverpool for a period, and I know what a great club Liverpool is, so that would have been a good education for him, and then moving to Bournemouth and being into the hot seat fairly quickly. I think he's done a really good job. So So yeah, has looked to make them difficult to beat, but they get some really, really good players there as well. And Ryan Christie, one of them I know really, really well. Ryan was outstanding for me at Celtic. Got his move to Bournemouth, and I know he's a top class player. So it's a game we have to be, at the really top of our game to get the result, and that's what our aim is.
Thanks, Brendan.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to Colin from BBC Journals.
Hi there, Brendan. Oh, hi. That's loud. Just having talked to Kiernan Dewsbury Hall the other day, I just had a couple about him, really. What have you made of him this season and the contribution he's made?
I think what you get with Kiernan is no matter how he's playing, he gives that industry and he gives his all in the team. I think that collectively it's been tough, but for him as an individual, it's probably that first period since he's come into the team where the team hasn't been at its best. But what I know with Kiernan is he's got such a hunger to learn and improve. And I think you've seen that dynamism in his game the other night. He's obviously a local guy, so he's very determined to get the result. But now he's a fantastic young man who's developing really well over this last 12 months or so in the Premier League. And I've always said he's only going to get better. And he's still got much to learn and much to improve on. But he wants to do that, which is important.
What is next for him? What does he have to improve on?
Well, for him, I think it's just the understanding of the game. Is that continuation of, once he understands the game better, at times he'll, play and see the game quicker. But what he has is you get this wonderful, refreshing energy, and you see him the other night, he's non-stop in the game. He can break lines with the ball. He presses the game ever so well. And I think it's just that continuation for him to look to create goals, score goals, and like I say, at times play me less touches on the ball, which moves the ball quicker. But these are all things that will come to his game the more game time he gets at this level.
I'll leave this, it's swirling around a little bit. Just finally, how hard is it to identify players at academy level who are going to make it? I think all of us in this room will probably have a player we've looked at and gone, that's going to be a star. And they've just fallen away and, played National League North or something like that. And we decide, how hard is it to pick those players out?
Well, I think with the greatest respect, it's if you only look at talent, then of course there's been so many players. That's why when you go to the local parks, I'm pretty sure in Leicester there's some amazing boys that were incredible talents when they were younger. But being a football player and being a professional, it's more than that. It's really about the attitude and the resilience to get through traumas that you'll have as a player and growing up. So yeah, listen, anyone can identify the talent, but it's you always want the working talent, and that's what's important. And like we had a great night with our under-21s the other night, beating Bradford, where we had 9 players that played in that starting 11 that was here in the foundation ages from under-8s. So that shows you there the growth that's here at the club and the talents that's here. But they've got to keep developing and keep improving, and that will be about their attitude, because they're here at this level because they have a talent. But it's the ones with the best attitude, the ones with the ability to get over the upsets and not playing so well, and also of course dealing with pressure, because it's a different pressure as you progress through. So yeah, but talent, even you could probably spot one, I'm sure. But it's more than that, and that's what you judge it on a day-to-day basis when you're assessing players.
Cheers. Before we go to Owen, we'll just get the first mic to him, which sounded a lot better.
Hi, Brendan.
Oh, that's much better.
You mentioned that Papi Mendy obviously has picked up a knee injury. You said he'll be out for this weekend. Is it just this weekend that he's maybe struggling for, or is there a longer term thing?
Maybe no, we don't think so. He just had a clash of knee in training the other day, and it just come up a little bit swollen. So our doctor and medical team have said this morning he's probably highly going to be unlikely that he'll be involved in the weekend, but hopefully rejoin the team after that.
With Wilfred Ndidi out and with Papi out as well, it gives an opportunity again for Buba Soumaré, doesn't it? And you spoke about him wanting to change his Leicester City story and wanting to stay at the football club. What are you looking for from him over the next few weeks to kind of complete that and move that next, into the next chapter of that story?
Yeah, I think with Buba, I think we have to recognise as well, and this is the problem now with modern football, is that there's no time given to players. I remember a time a way back coming through whenever, a top class player would have went to Liverpool Football Club when they were an hour, but back then when they were the sort of top team, and they would sign a top player and you wouldn't then hear of them for about a year, and then all of a sudden they would appear again, right? And there was never any questions asked. They were in the back, learning the trade, playing with high, top-level players, and then when they were ready, they would be brought into the team, and then they would go on and normally have a really good career. Nowadays, because of the spotlight, everything's on the player to be ready now. And it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And if he's not ready now, people then want to say, well, what's wrong? Has he had a fallout with the manager? Or, has he not settled in the changing room? Does he not like the training? There's always everything. This is a guy who's come in at 21 odd years of age into a new style, a new country. We didn't speak so much the language. And that first 12 months has been a really, really tough, but a really educational adaptation for him. And he had a really good pre-season, and he's done really well. And I think now the next step for him is to show that consistency, because he'll get an opportunity now to come in. And for me, the improvements is just that little bit more anticipation. But it was always going to take time. It's the same with Patson Daka. And I see now him really starting to believe and have settlement here as a Premier League player. So it's just time, and it's patience, and not wanting them to be ready. There's very few that come in and be like Erling Haaland that come in, and this is a generational talent who's amazing. But most players take that little bit of time to adapt, and Buba's been one of them. But we can all see he has big qualities, and hopefully he can show them in his time here.
Do you, when you look at him now, do you see a player that's had that full adaptation time, or is there still a little bit more for him to continue that adaptation, or is he there?
Yeah, no, I think he's settled well. Again, another guy who's become a father and matured, and understanding life a wee bit better, and understanding what it takes to succeed in the Premier League, because he's coming from a different rhythm of game in France. Coming to here where it's so high intensity. The beauty with Buba is that he has all the physical qualities to play and be a really top player at this level. He has the technical qualities where he can take the ball and keep the ball moving quickly for us. And it's just him now adapting to what we want in terms of our pressing and filling spaces at the right moments. So he's a fantastic player, and I think over the time he'll prove that here, but time is important.
You mentioned a little bit earlier about the importance of backing up Monday's result against Bournemouth at the weekend. As when you're preparing these players as the manager, what kind of messages do you have to give them, if you have to give them anything at all, about the importance of that?
Yeah, well, I think when you've gone the period of time that we have without winning, then it's the feeling from the other night. It goes back into the player's mindset again and what that feeling was like, but also what it takes to win games of football in the Premier League. For us, we should have won but hadn't. But I think the messages are simple, that we need to maintain the level. And we've set a standard now of intensity and mentality, and you have to live that now and bring that into your game, which I can see the determination in the players after the other night, and that's why I said beforehand I think it was a game that can really be a springboard for us going forward. So it's a mood-changing game. I sense that, and hopefully the supporters feel much better after that, because it's been tough for them as well. But now we get that connection again take that same mentality and that aggression into the game and look to get 3 points.
Tactically, I wonder what you've made to what Gary O'Neill's done at Bournemouth since taking over as an interim manager.
Well, I think when they conceded the goals away at Bournemouth, then Gary's come in and looked to make them very hard to beat. They've obviously conceded a lot of possession in the game, kept their lines very tight together and normally that bit deeper. And like I say, look to then, with the possession that they have, look to create problems for the other team. They've been defending in a 4-4-2 structure, but with the ball, had a couple of different shapes that they've morphed into. So I've analysed a lot and looked at them a lot, and there's a lot of good things to like about them. So we know we have to play well to get the points. They're coming off the back of a clean sheet against Brentford, and they'll look to be strong and hard to beat also. So it's we've analysed them a lot, and hopefully we can bring out the details in our game and see what it brings.
Does the fact that their real organised defensive shape make the transition maybe a little bit more important on Saturday, or is it still that kind of build-up play that may be the way to break that defensive organisation down?
Well, always depends how far and how deep they are. You know, there's 4 phases to the game. You're obviously building up your game as if teams want to press or not press. You have to prepare the game well through your midfield. But then for us, it's about arriving into the final third of the pitch as fast as we can, and that's when you arrive into that incision phase of the game and also your goal-scoring phase. So all those elements, we did that very, very well. I think if you look at our 4th goal the other night, comes from our build-up, from the keeper playing, us playing it quickly, getting through the lines, eventually with James crossing for Patson to score. So that's a perfect example of build-up play, and it's a demonstration of why you build the game, you know, to try and exploit those spaces. But it's always the balance. It's not always short when you're building the game. Sometimes you have to go over the build-up. So it always depends on what the opponent and how they want to play. If they want to press you high, they want to sit off. But either way, for us, it's about us bringing our authority to the game, imposing our way in the game, and being aggressive in the game.
Final one from me, Brendan, but it was being reported yesterday that Robert Huth had returned to the club as the loans manager at the moment. What will he be able to bring to that role, and how important a role is that for you as a manager who clearly wants to develop as much youth as possible?
Yeah, well, I think it's a great appointment for the club. There was a number of really, really good candidates that had applied for the job, but Robert brings a huge experience. You know, if you go back to, he moved away from home as a young guy from East Germany back then when he first came to Chelsea. So he's got the understanding of being away as a young player, made his life over here in England, and so all those experiences plus his experience of being here at Leicester City and understanding the area and understanding the club, that obviously counts for a lot. So I think he'll be a huge benefit to the club. You know, he's a really respected player. He's a good guy. I knew him as a young player at Chelsea when he was 18, 19 years of age. To see him now and see the career he's had, it's great to have him here. But I also think it's great when I look around the club. You know, after training, I was talking to him and Emil Heskey on the field, and it's great to have those players around that have that big experience of the club, but also have the best intentions for the club. And I look at Jerry Taggart, I see big Jerry around the club as well, and Matty Elliott and all these guys. So I think it's great to have those former players involved, and the passion that they can bring to the roles is important. And Houthi will do that and really help and inspire, I'm sure, our young players before they arrive into the first team.